So we're going to get started right away because we have a huge subject to talk about. And today I'm going to talk about the microbiome. And the trouble is that most of us don't even know that we have a microbiome. Do you have a microbiome? Of course you do. How many cells are there in your body right now? How many cells are there? Take a guess. 10 trillion, right? 10 trillion cells. How many bacteria are there in your body right now? Right now, as we speak. 100 trillion. So you are made up more of bacteria than you are of human cells, except that your bacteria are real tiny, but there's more. Now imagine that each bacteria has a genome as well, a DNA. So now they have genes. So let me ask you, how many genes do you have? You're a human being. About 21,000. Oh, I mean, right? I mean, sorry, 2,000. It's nothing. Very few genes. In fact, the fly has more genes than you have. No, that's a fact. The worms have more genes than you have. How many genes are there if you take all your bacteria in your gut and put them together? Take a guess? About 4 million. So the question is why? Did you ever ask yourself why the bacteria are there? How did they even get there? When you're born, you don't have bacteria inside your gut. You're born pretty much sterile, aren't you? But all those bacteria get over there. Why do they go over there? Oh, let's just find a nice place to go live in, right? Nature does not make any mistakes. Nature always has an ultimate reason why it does everything. If it puts so many trillion bacteria inside you, and you're alive and you're not yet dead, there's a reason for it. But we never asked ourselves what the reason for these bacteria in our gut is. And I'm going to tell you that since you all are a lot of businessmen I see around here, part of the reason is outsourcing. You have outsourced a lot of your physiology to your bacteria, and you just don't know it. But that's exactly what happened, because the bacteria came here millions of years before you did. So when you, the human being, came into development and into evolution, the bacteria were already there. So now, they were already doing what they're doing. And all we did is we actually hacked onto their physiology, brought them into ourselves and said, you're going to do this X, Y, Z, I'm only going to do this. And that's a fact. How do I know that's a fact? Because without the bacteria, you wouldn't be alive. You can't function right now. So we have rat studies, we have human studies also. In rat studies that are born completely sterile, there's no bacteria in their gut, they develop completely abnormal. They don't socialize, the brain development is not normal, their lifespan is also short. The moment you introduce the bacteria back into the gut, suddenly they start behaving like rats and mice. The question is why? Because they're doing something. What are they doing? They're producing substances. What are they producing? They're producing chemicals. What chemicals are they producing? Tons of them. You think that most of this stuff, oh yeah, I'm so healthy, look at me, I'm a specimen of health, right? You think you swallowed all those chemicals in your food? No. The bacteria made a lot of the metabolites that are actually in your gut. They make it, they release it into your gut, and it helps you in your physiology. It helps your hormones. There's a great connection to the brain as well, which I'll explain to you. This is a very short, this is just a tickle lecture. This lecture actually should be about 4 hours long, longer than a Mahakatha. You know, it's a very long lecture. But this is going to be the first of the multiple lectures. But the idea here I want you to all take home is that you're a symbiotic relationship with your bacteria. And this symbiotic relationship needs to be nurtured. They're living inside you, they're living there, and they're doing things for you. And you should be doing things for them. The trouble is, they're doing things for you, you're not doing things for them. And it started right from the beginning. Because if you get a C-section, you're not going to get your maternal bacteria that is going to go from the delivery tract, from the vaginal outflow. You're not going to get those bacteria. You may get the doctor's or the nurse's bacteria that's going to colonize you. The incidence of C-sections has gone up, and that's also been related to a lot of the chronic diseases and the disorders that we are finding that's going on right now. So it starts right from the beginning. And I can tell you so much about the changes that happen in the bacterial flora within the delivery canal to the mother, and the changes. They change throughout the entire gestational period also, right up to the week before delivery. And why? Why? Because it wants to deliver the right bacteria to the baby. And there again, the ingestion by the baby from maternal milk also changes. Antibiotics, the antigens also delivered through the milk to the baby changes. Everything changes. Milk contains a lot of oligosaccharides. We can't digest them as human beings. So why is mother's milk 30% chock block of those chemicals? Why? It's for the bacteria. The bacteria will be able to eat those chemicals and grow over there. And it will attract the right bacteria in the gut of the baby. So I'm just giving you a little tickling of it. Everything is designed by nature to increase the biodiversity of the bacteria in your intestines. Why? Because your whole physiology is deeply linked to it. So what's my interest in it? I'm a cardiologist. What am I worried about a GI? I've got gastroenterologists all over town. What am I doing? Doing all this GI stuff and bugs in the gut. So what? Well, I strongly believe, and the evidence is pointing towards it, that these chronic non-communicable diseases, coronary artery disease, hypertension, diabetes, obesity, autism, depression, Parkinsonism are all related to an imbalance that we have created in our immune system as a result of the changes in our gut microbacteria. Look, we're not dying of typhoid or TB anymore, but we're dying of an immune problem where our immune system is overactive. Look, what is COVID? COVID is an overactive immune system. Cytokine storm occurs. Why? Why are we reacting so much? Why are we so inflamed? Why do we have so much inflammation in our body that's causing irritable colon syndrome, obesity, depression? These are all inflammatory conditions. Ulcerative colitis, Crohn's disease, hypertension, metabolic syndrome. Why are we so inflamed? Is because there's nothing in our system there to slow it down. Our immune system needs to be softened. So wait a second. So if our immune system needs to soften, what would make it soften? Answer: gut bacteria. How? The gut bacteria communicate to our immune system. And they tell our immune system, I'm your friend. I'm not your foe. So there's a direct crosstalk between the bacteria in your gut and the immune cells in your gut. 70% of your immune cells are in your gut. Why? Because that's the real border crossing. That's why all the immune cells are there. They talk to those immune cells and they say, I'm friend. Don't fight me. This guy, yeah, he's a bad guy. This guy's a good friend. These are called T-reg cells. T regulatory cells. Regulatory cells. I can talk about this for about 1 hour just on T-reg cells alone. The T-reg cells send signals to all the other cells in the body. Do not overreact. Calm down. Slow down. So now, when you do get a breach or some bacteria getting into your blood, you don't get that cytokine storm because your immune system has learned not to react with a bazooka. All it needs is a small little hammer. The immune response is much less. So there's a definite change in the immune response in our body that is created by the bacteria in the gut. And these studies have been done in rats, mice. Now we are seeing it in human beings also, clearly. Because in rats, it's very easy to do that. You introduce the bacteria, you take them out, you reintroduce them, you can see what's happening to the body. So what's that got to do with coronary artery disease? So I'm going to tell you what happens with coronary artery disease. We thought it was all cholesterol, and you've all heard my lectures, and I keep telling you all it's not all about the cholesterol, right? It's about the sugar, okay? And it's about carbohydrates. But now I'm introducing another part 2 to the story. Sugar is in the upper part of your intestines. What happens in the lower part is all about bacteria. So our diets our sugars, our concentrated foods that we eat, all these processed foods, all these refined products, all that garbage that we put down with colorings and preservatives, all affect the upper part, which is your hormonal, and you all saw my lectures on how it affects your insulin and makes you very sick because of insulin. And now I'm going to tell you all that affects the lower part as well. How? Through your bacteria. Because processed foods have what? They've got all that garbage in it. Okay, but what does it not have? It doesn't have fiber. What's it got to do with gut bugs? It's got everything to do with gut bugs, because the gut bugs only eat fiber. So what we've done is we're eating this food full of preservatives, full of sugar, processed, pulverized, made into something else, absorbed very quickly, causes that huge insulin rise in your body, which you all know about, and I've talked to you all about that. But it's all over. The game's over halfway through. By the time that food goes to your colon, there's nothing left for your bacteria. You've all starved your bacteria, and that's why we all get sick. The bacteria, when they can't eat fiber because you didn't introduce fiber, will start eating what? They start eating you. They start eating the mucus, the mucin. The mucin is the layer that protects the inside from you. It's a thick layer of mucus. And when that mucus is gone, guess what? The bacteria and the bacterial products can get into your body because you have lack of mucin, that thick layer. And that thick layer is produced by who? The bacteria. The bacteria induces changes in your intestinal lining so you get all that mucus. That's your barrier. Because ultimately the bacteria wants to preserve its environment. See, nature doesn't fool around. It's very smart. It wants to preserve its status quo. So because you deprived your gut of the bacteria, now you're going to have two problems. One is there may not be enough bacteria, but number two, you also don't have the right diversity of bacteria. So it's not just about the bacteria and feeding them the fiber. You want the right biodiversity of bacteria, because how many species of bacteria are there in your gut? There's about 2,000 species. And we know that some are good and some are bad. The Firmicutes, for example, are very bad. The Bacteroides are better. Okay? And we know that Akkermansia produces a lot of fiber. Right? So we know these things. We want the right bacteria to be there in the right population growth. And I'm saying to you all that you are the trouble. You all are the problem because you have deprived your gut and your bacteria of the fiber. When you eat, you're eating selfishly. You are all eating selfishly instead of eating selflessly, where you say, this is for me, this is for my bacteria. So you should be eating whole foods, where half of it is going down to your colon for the back. You can't digest fiber. Can you digest fiber? Can you digest fiber? You don't. You don't have the hormones, you don't have the enzymes, nothing. So who's going to eat the fiber? And yet nature gave you all this food that's full of fiber. You eat a whole fruit. You eat a whole grain with the fiber. Not where the pulp is taken out and made into a white powder and now you have manda powder. And now you have this manda and you're making this beautiful, white, fluffy white bread. You're going to kill yourself and kill the bacteria at the same time. Because all that's going to do is increase your insulin levels and you're not going to have any good growth of bacteria in your gut. So processing foods does two things. It introduces a bunch of garbage into it, all those chemicals and preservatives that you read about on the label, which you can't even pronounce. Can you pronounce half the names? You can't. Well, why are you eating it then? So that's one thing. They introduce all the garbage. Number two, they take out all the fiber. That's the biggest difference between processed foods and non-processed foods, is the fiber. The closer it is to nature, the better and healthier it is. So you see, I used to go to these places and they used to say, okay, these patients, I give them these jari buttis and this fiber. And I said, how can that work? I'm a doctor. No, it works because it changes the bacterial flora. And then the world's greatest pharmacological agents go to work for you, the bacteria. It's amazing. It's amazing. So what kind of chemistries do we know about? We know a lot, actually. I told you it's going to take hours to talk about short-chain fatty acids. Short-chain fatty acids are produced by the bacteria in the gut. What's so good about them? They stimulate the mucosa to produce mucin. You got protection. they get absorbed into the bloodstream. They tame the T-reg cells. Hey, put your bazookas away. You don't need to fight a war here. Calm down. They actually travel up your vagus nerve all the way to your brain. Did you know that? Metabolites from your bacteria include neurotransmitters that go all the way to your brain. Well, look, you should know this. You eat certain foods, you feel lousy. You eat certain foods, you feel sleepy. You eat certain foods, you get depressed. How does that all happen? Just magic? There's a direct connection between the brain and the gut also. It's called the gut-brain axis. There's a bidirectional talk between the vagus nerve. The vagus nerve connects the brain to the gut. You have to know this. Therefore, these chemicals are going up to your brain. Today's definition of depression is it's an inflammatory condition. Depression is nothing but inflammation in your brain. And where did it all come from? Oh yeah, it just happened naturally, kya karu? No, you will become depressed if there's inflammation in your gut. There's absolutely no doubt about it. And you fix that inflammation in your gut and your depression will be gone. Not only that, in kids, autism and autism spectrum disorders. Numerous studies done. You change the diet, the kids' behavior starts getting better. In fact, you should know that yourselves with your own kids. You feed them better, they start behaving better. It's just that we have to figure out the pathways by which this is actually happening. The blood-brain barrier is one method by which inflammatory molecules can get into the brain. We thought it was completely impervious. It's not. The vagus nerve is another direct pathway to get into your brain. So there are two pathways by these chemicals do get inside, and I have lots and lots of literature to show you for that. So this is really, really important. So depression, Parkinson's. Come on, you guys know so many people who have degenerative diseases. You know, I have movement disorder. I have Parkinsonism. All these conditions are just due to inflammation in the brain. Why did it all get there? Inflammation, the dendritic cells in the brain, the astrocytes, the glial cells. These are inflammatory cells. And they get inflamed. And then, of course, they deposit the beta proteins into the brain and they say, oh, he's got Alzheimer's. Well, God did not invent Alzheimer's just like that. Nature did not invent that. We invented it through our bad physiology. Because of the changes that we've created in the way we live. Obviously, bacteria are just one part of it, but today we're talking about the bacteria in here. But there's a lot of other things that also do it. But we need to start becoming more responsible for what we're doing to ourselves and our body in this modern living that we do these days. So these gut bacteria, I'm going to introduce to you now the cardiac part of it. There's a growing body of evidence that the bacterial products from your gut get into the bloodstream, and in the bloodstream, then they go to the liver, because all the blood drains to the liver, and it is the number one cause of fatty liver. I'm telling you right now, because not all of you are alcoholics, but I can tell you that at least 25% of you have fatty liver. And then if you go and see your doctor, they'll say, I don't know why you got a fatty liver. You don't drink alcohol, then why do you have a fatty liver? Oh, you don't have hepatitis C, why do you have a fatty liver? In my office, for the last 5 years, I've seen that every patient with a fatty liver has metabolic syndrome. And fatty liver is directly correlated to coronary artery disease. Inflammation, fatty liver. The other cause of fatty liver is, of course, what I already taught you all about, which is your insulin levels, right? If your insulin level is high, then all carbs get converted into fat in the liver. It's called de novo lipogenesis, and you get a fatty liver. But what we don't realize that if you don't have hyperinsulinemia, fatty liver is due to what I call metabolic endotoxemia. Metabolic endotoxemia, that means toxicity in the blood. Where? It's because things that shouldn't be getting into your bloodstream get into your bloodstream and cause toxicity. And when I change their diet and I put them on my diet, and I do intermittent fasting, time-restricted feeding, and get rid of all processed foods and increase the fiber intake and give them fiber supplements as well, all of a sudden, Fatty liver, they come back a year later. It does take about 6 months to a year. Fatty liver, gone. Or at least markedly improved. And fatty liver is now, known to also be a precursor to what is known as non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, and can lead to NASH and can lead to liver failure and then liver transplants. So why are we all getting fatty livers? So anyway, this endotoxemia is caused by the shells of the bacteria, which is called lipopolysaccharides. The lipopolysaccharides get into the bloodstream. Now, in your bloodstream, they can't just float around because these are terrorists, right? They can't float around. They're the bad stuff. They're bacterial products. So the LDL molecule grabs it. It displaces a cholesterol because it doesn't have room on it, right? It's a ship. It's carrying cholesterol. That's what lipoproteins are, LDL. It tosses off a cholesterol, hops on the LPS, and now it became a small, dense LDL. Got it? So LDL doesn't cause coronary artery disease. It's small, dense LDL. And small, dense LDL is created by metabolic endotoxemia, which is lipopolysaccharides getting into the bloodstream. Now this LDL particle, which has the terrorist sitting in it, is floating around and causes an immune reaction around the body. It gets oxidized. The endothelium sees it. It's got receptors for it, binds to it. Macrophages come along, monocytes come along, and they attach themselves to it. They start grabbing it. They engulf the LDL particles, and they become foam cells. That's why when you look at plaque, you see fat in it. Well, of course, the fat is liberated there because the LDL is there. But LDL just came along as a byproduct because it had grabbed the lipopolysaccharide. It's like it didn't cause the problem in the plaque. It carried the lipopolysaccharide. It carried a molecule that made it into a small, dense LDL, a different kind of LDL. So I just saw a patient this afternoon, for example, he had an LDL of 280. I didn't put the patient on a statin because it was all large, fluffy particles. There's no small LDL. So you don't need to be on a statin. You need smaller. So when I do a lipid panel, I'm looking for inflammation. And how do I know there's inflammation going on in this patient? He's got small, dense LDL. Triglycerides are high. HDL is also running low. And they have small, dense LDL particles. So that's how plaque formation occurs. That is why, we've taken patients and given them a high-fiber diet. We've changed the diet. We've put them on this diet. Blood pressure go down. Sugars get better. Coronary artery disease stops. We never figured out the mechanisms of how this is happening. How? How does it happen? When I was a fellow, we used to say, oh, yeah, fiber is really good for you. But nobody really knew why. They all thought fiber is good for you, so you have big poop. So what? You have big poop, you're going to live longer? No. Well, your longevity is related to your poop size? No, it's to do with the bacteria. And the more bacteria, of course, most of the weight, more than 50% of the weight of your poop is actually bacteria. So if you're not having a big bowel movement, yeah, you have a problem, but for a different reason. Not because you're not having big poop, it's because you're not having enough bacteria in your gut. So all of us who've come from abroad, for example, our waters were different, our environments were different, our bacterial exposures were different when we were growing up. I saw a guy today from Poland. He came here, he says, I only weighed 130 pounds when I came here. Then I went up to 190 within a matter of 2 years. So I said, what, you became a glutton? You started eating a whole pig at a time? He said, no, I didn't. How's this normal? I was just eating normal kind of foods. His bacteria changed completely. His metabolism changed. Of course, he ate some processed foods at the same time, and he didn't feed the right bacteria. He became completely metabolic, right? So I told him that you need to start eating ancestral foods. How about us? How about you? How about you? So you come here and say, I'm now sophisticated, I only eat, processed food now, American food. Yeah, you can do that. You can do that and see what your bacteria think of it. So, going back to ancestral foods is so important for us. And ancestral food doesn't mean busu and chevro and gatia and all that stuff. That's not ancestral food. Because that's all processed food. That's all processed food, right? And vegetable seed oils. I already told you all about vegetable seed oils. And I told you how bad vegetable seed oils are. But one of the biggest reasons of vegetable seed oils is you eat cotton seed oil, soy oil, and all those oils, what it does to your bacteria. It destroys the health of the biodiversity of your bacteria as well. What's the oil you're supposed to eat? It's just simple ghee and coconut oil. That's it. That's it. That's what you're supposed to be consuming. But we go for these vegetable seed oils instead. So now omega-6 is so high. Even the meat that we eat, for example, is full of omega-6. Omega-6 because the cows are supposed to eat grass. Instead, you give them corn and you give them soy. So now they become metabolic. So the cow is sick. He's an obese cow that's got metabolic syndrome. So while he's obese, slaughter him, you get more money for the weight, and you make more money. So we create sick animals, and then we eat them. And then we expect to be healthy as well. So anyway, that's just digression right there. So, the other thing is antibiotics. So they discovered in the 30s or 40s that if you take some antibiotic and just give a small dose of antibiotic to the animals, all of a sudden they gain a lot of weight. Now, gaining weight is good for their business. Is it good for you? No, it's not. It's not good for you, right? Because that antibiotic that they're giving the animals creates metabolic syndrome in them because it changes their bioflora in their gut. And so you're creating these sick animals that have metabolic syndrome, and then we consume them. And then the antibiotics get into us as well. And of course, who doesn't take antibiotics, right? The average kid has 20 rounds of antibiotics before he's even 10 years old. That's your kids. And most of the time, 80% of the time, it's a virus. It's not even a bacterial infection. Oh, but the doctor has to be careful. You have inner ear infection. You got to be sure. It's all virus. When my kids grew up, my wife and I almost had a divorce over the kids. Because I would say they couldn't. It's a virus, leave it alone. He's suffering. So I said, so antibiotics are not going to help. I remember I gave 3 courses of antibiotics to 3 children. That means on average one course each. That's it. And today they're all healthy beings. They're all absolutely beautiful, intelligent kids. But you don't need to be killing your bacteria with antibiotics. So every time you take a course of antibiotics, you're killing all your bacteria as well in your gut. So we need to preserve them instead of killing them all off. And the food that you're consuming has antibiotics in it. The fish, you go for an average farm fish, it's got antibiotics in it. Almost the equivalent of a quarter tablet of an antibiotic in it. What? Why are you doing that? Our milk has antibiotics in it. Our meat has antibiotics in it. And then that's the environment in which they're also developing antibiotic resistance. This has been well documented over and over again. So, have you all heard of SIBO, which is small intestinal bacterial overgrowth? 50% of people who are overweight actually have SIBO as well. So, what has obesity got to do with all this? Well, you know that if I take a poop from an obese person and transplant it into you, chances are you'll become obese too. So these studies have been done over and over again. You take C. diff patients, Clostridium difficile infection. So those patients, the best treatment for them is actually a fecal transplant. It's even better than giving them antibiotics. So the studies were done, and then they noticed that, my God, sometimes they just blew up like crazy while they realized that the poop that was donated, that person who donated it, was extremely obese. So there's an obesogenic fecal profile. And you take that, and conversely, if you want to do this, you can go to California tomorrow, catch a flight, go to California, and you can go to a clinic over there, and they'll give you they'll give you some poop. And they call it capsules. They'll give you a capsule of a healthy college graduate. And you got to kind of get rid of your own crap, and then you take the capsule and then you repopulate yourself. But people are doing it. I can't vouch for that. I'm just saying that people are looking at all these things. but fecal transplants are teaching us that they have strength, and the studies have strength. The more we read about, the trouble is that we don't. You see, we all don't read all these things. So they're in the research literature and they get hidden away, especially in certain specialties. They just kind of hide away in there. So we never get a chance to read them. But lucky for me, I'm a real inquisitive guy who at night, instead of Netflix, I like to read these little crazy books, So there's power in the fecal bacteria. There's absolutely no doubt. And it's not only in the species, but also in the products that they make. So there's a company, for example, it's also out of California. I think they call Microbiome. And you send off a sample to them, and just based on the sample, they can predict your diseases and how much you weigh and whether you have diabetes or not, and just based on your fecal matter. So next time you come to my office next time here, you'll go and give some blood and then go to the toilet and give me some of that. I don't know when that's going to happen. But I think that looking at the metabolites, what we called the metabolome is the products that the bacteria in your gut are producing. Looking at that is going to become very important in the future. But I'm saying to you all, forget all that. Why don't you just increase your fiber intake? So more than 50% of you right now sitting over here, more than 50%, I should say 80% of you all are not getting enough fiber in your diet right now. You're not getting enough fiber in your diet right now. And if there's one thing you should be able to do right now to improve all your health right now, and your kids and your family and everybody, is increase your fiber intake. And know that it's working through your microbiome. So all my cardiac patients, I put them on inulin. Inulin is a soluble fiber. It belongs to the fructans, and it's from onions and garlic and artichokes and leeks, and it's made from that. It's a white powder, soluble fiber. So this is stuff that you put in water, it's soluble. You can't see it. It's not that Metamucil thick stuff that I give patients, right? That's totally different. This is soluble fiber, and I give it to all my patients. And they all come back to me and say, first couple of days they get gas. After that, they're fine. The sugar levels come down. The weight start coming down. The insulin levels start coming down. They start sleeping better. I say, I'm just giving you soluble fiber and you start sleeping better. The gut feels better. They start losing the weight. The metabolic syndrome seems to get better. So I give them that. All my patients. I also do a test in my office occasionally, not very often, maybe once or twice a week. And I look for a leaky gut. What am I doing looking for leaky gut? I'm looking for antibodies against zonulin, but I'm also looking to see if there are other markers that he's got an inflamed gut functionally. Because if you do a colonoscopy on this patient, you're not going to see anything on the colonoscopy. So those tests are done very rarely. I don't even order them much at all, but sometimes they come in requesting those. My solution is very simple. Eat real food. Eat real food. Don't eat artificial food. If it doesn't look like that in nature, don't even touch it. Throw it away. There's no gut here on the trees. Right? None. So, if it doesn't look like nature, I don't eat it. I will go for a high fiber diet, number one. No antibiotics unless I really absolutely need it. Okay? Then there are other things that you can do to improve the overall access, right? There's a nervous system in your gut called the enteric nervous system, which is actually number 2 to your brain. Your brain is the big nervous system. There's a big one in the gut. Because after all, that's the border. That's the border crossing. So there's a big enteric nervous system. So I see a lot of patients that come to me with vasovagal diseases. That means they're fainting, they see something, or they're tired, or they're standing in the supermarket, they keep fainting, they get vasovagal attacks. So the vagus nerve slows their heart rate down too much and they keep passing out. Or they get excessive tachycardia. It's called POTS syndrome, P-O-T-T-S. So they get a very rapid heartbeat all the time. The pulse rate is running all the time high. I couldn't figure out why they're getting this. And if you look at the cardiology literature, and by now I should know it, I've been doing it for 35 years, right? There's no answers. So with these patients, I started asking them, so what's your gut like? He keeps fainting. This 22-year-old college student keeps fainting. And I realized immediately that these girls and boys have a dysfunctional gut because they're eating wrong. So the vagus nerve stimulation, because remember the vagus nerve is the largest nerve in the body and supplies the gut. I changed their diet and the vasovagal symptoms are gone. Gone. Their heart rates come down to normal, they stop fainting, they no longer get vasovagal symptoms. So the nervous system in the gut is hugely important. How do I treat GERD? Gastroesophageal reflux. How do I treat that? I treat that myself. I'm not a gastroenterologist, I'm a cardiologist. But I give them probiotic food. So I give them all kefir and fermented foods. You're supposed to eat fermented foods. Your ancestry ate fermented foods. You all stopped eating fermented foods because we are now sophisticated, right? You're supposed to be eating fermented foods every day. If you're not going to eat dahi, then you got to eat kefir, or you got to learn how to eat sauerkraut with your salads. Sauerkraut is fermented cabbage, full of bacteria. You're supposed to eat it. Learn how to eat kimchi. Don't put that fishy oyster sauce in your kimchi. Make it into a vegetarian kimchi. And you can actually ferment any vegetable you like. So when I go home, I'll have a salad. I put a whole bunch of that fermented stuff in it. So I'm getting all that bacteria inside me. You have to eat fermented foods. Every day you got to eat fermented foods. Because if you're not eating fermented foods, you're not doing your body a service. You have to do this every day. So I do that. So I'll have that. I'll have kefir.
What are the fermented foods?
So
Beer considered
dahi. Beer is a fermented food. Of course it is. But the trouble with beer is it also has some alcohol. And the last time when there was a COVID outbreak in my office, we all were using alcohol to kill everything. So guess what? I'm killing everything inside. And then you're wondering why my gut bacteria is unhappy because you're throwing alcohol on top of them. So drinking alcohol is really deleterious. Studies now show, I used to say that it's okay to have one drink a day. Day by day, I think that 2 drinks a week is enough. Because otherwise, there's definite data to show that alcohol is very deleterious for your liver, for your gut, but also now because of the gut bacteria, I'm really scared. Because you do destroy your gut bacteria with alcohol intake. It sterilizes it. So you want to eat dahi, you want to eat kefir if you don't like dahi, you want to eat sauerkraut, kimchi, kombucha. Kombucha is a nice fermented drink as well. Anything fermented. Fermented stuff is really good except for the beer. So I take a salad, I put some sauerkraut in it, on top of it, then I put balsamic vinegar and a little bit of olive oil. Now the olive oil, I got to tell you about olive oil, okay? This is all garbage. Olive oil is good for you, but not because it's olive oil. It's not the oil in it that is really good for you, because it is basically 50% monounsaturated fats. I've done all the analysis on this. It's 50% monounsaturated fats, and it is about 20% saturated. So it's got a mixture of the fats. It's not all monounsaturated. The real benefit of olive oil is the polyphenols. That's why you want extra virgin olive oil, because it has more polyphenols. So what are polyphenols? Polyphenols are the chemicals that make all these plants look very beautiful. So you have green, you have purple, you have red, you have yellow, all the peppers and all the different colors. Oh yeah, your wide variety is very good for me. It's not good for you. It's good for your bacteria. You can't digest any polyphenols. So they were right that you should consume a lot of polyphenols. You cannot metabolize a single polyphenol. You cannot. Every polyphenol is actually metabolized by your bacteria. I mean, this was such a humbling experience when I did the research on this, to say that I thought that I'm doing all this, for my body, and my body is metabolizing all this. Nah, I outsourced everything. I love this phrase, outsourced all my metabolism. I love it. But there's some truth to this. Because my bacteria are using the polyphenols. So polyphenols are good for you. Eat a wide variety of foods and colors. They're not for you. They're for your bacteria. So give them the fiber, give them the polyphenols. Yeah, you guys go for it. They have the most amazing pharmacology. They are the best pharmacists in the world. They make the right things. And I want you to think about something else. Okay, all of you. Let's say that you need a genomic change to improve your health. You can't do it because you only have X number of genes. And for their mutations to occur in those genes, very rare. Very occasionally they'll happen, right? Guess what? You change your diet tomorrow, you've got so many trillion genes in there inside your belly that these bacterial genes adapt immediately. The bacteria have the greatest ability to change their metabolism according to the environment. So we have the bacteria here because today you're here, tomorrow you go and live in California. It's totally different bacterial environment, different foods, different everything. Your bacteria are adapting much faster than you. So tomorrow you go to the moon and you're going to only have those processed foods that are all frozen and made in certain ways. Your bacteria will adapt to it. Bacteria can eat anything. They can actually adapt very quickly. That's why when what's that thing called in the Gulf of Mexico, we had that big oil spill. Yeah. How did they finally get rid of that? It's bacteria. You think we did it? It was the bacteria. They threw the bacteria that actually eats oil. Which brings me to the fact that when I tell you people not to take artificial sweeteners, it's not for you. I'm not worried about you. The artificial sweeteners, I'm worried about who? The bacteria, because they do consume those. You don't have a metabolism for sweeteners. All these artificial sweeteners, you have no metabolism for it. Who has a metabolism? Your bacteria. So basically, you're causing a deranged microbiome. So when I say don't take artificial sweeteners, it's not for you, it's because you're destroying your microbiome. And it's not that you're killing it all off, it's you're changing the balance of it. So if I told you there's 100 trillion bacteria in your gut, did you know that you have almost 400 trillion viruses in your gut? Did you know that? Did you know that you have 400 trillion viruses in your gut right now? Now, most of them don't infect you. You say, how come I'm not sick? Because they are bacteriophages. What is a bacteriophage? It's a virus that only attacks bacteria. So there's a whole population of them, and they're keeping themselves all under control. The bacteria keep themselves, and viruses also keep themselves. So it's a simple message. It's a simple message. The bacteria just need to be taken care of. You're not taking care of them because you're not eating right. You're eating selfishly, and you're not taking care of the bacteria in your guts. That is why you have the wrong bacteria, the wrong metabolome, as we call it, and that's why we're having diabetes, insulin resistance, obesity, chronic inflammatory bowel disease, rheumatoid arthritis. What is rheumatoid arthritis? Connective tissue diseases. These are all problems with autoimmunity. Why? Because the gut lining is bad, and therefore things get inside, and your body mounts an autoimmune response against it. It's too much activity. Autoimmunity, too much, because there's no T regulatory activity going on. So it's exposure, and then those T cells are too happy to pull out the guns and start firing. That's what rheumatoid arthritis is. That's what lupus is also. So, and all these things are going around our bodies and making us sick. You're sick and tired of eating all this garbage. Sick and tired of eating garbage. I hope you all are sick and tired of eating garbage. So we need to change this message, not only for us, but to our kids. Because notice what's happening with the kids also. Notice what's going on. They are increasingly becoming obese, increasingly become diabetic, increasing cognitive functions going down, increasing incidence of autism, increasing incidence of behavioral disorders. And you're wondering why? Because you're putting diesel in a gasoline car. Stop doing it. And I can speak for at least maybe 3-4 dozen families that I've talked to in the last year or so, the kids turn around completely. Completely. Different children. And these kids, if we're not careful, they will grow up, let's say they get through all that childhood, they will grow up to become very sick adults. Mentally and physically. Both ways. So, there are certain mental developments that have to occur at a certain time in your development. Now watch what I'm going to tell you, because this is really important. When they introduce the bacteria into mice at 1 year instead of right at birth, that development never completely reversed. That means that development abnormality didn't completely reverse. That means those mice still had a deficit, which means that there was a certain input that those bacteria had on the development of the brain of the child that's growing at that time. And if you miss that boat, you're doomed. So think about what I'm saying. This is really, and we have the data to show for this. We actually have data. We even have human data now to show for it. So we should take this very seriously, that our development as a human is very intricately connected to our bacteria and our bacterial products that they manufacture. And that is integrally related to how we were born, how we were raised, which antibiotics we take, what environment we live in, what kind of water we drink, plus what kind of food we're putting inside us, and what kind of chemicals you're introducing into your body. Because if we don't pay attention to this, right now, 3/4 of the population already has metabolic syndrome. And amongst the South Asians, it's even higher. It's even higher. So it means you're not going to die, but you're going to have a life that is not worth living. Because you're not going to be there, or you're not going to be physically able to do anything, but you're still alive. So it's a great time today. We may not know all the science behind it, but I encourage everybody to go home and think about this. And anything that you see on your table that you don't recognize as real food, throw it away, because it's not for you, nor is it for your bacteria. It has to look like that in nature. Last thing, and this is very new, and I'm going to make a video of this coming up. This is just an intro to all this, right? But the last thing I want to tell you is about aging products. AGES, Advanced Glycation End Products. What is that? Advanced Glycation End Products. In summary, it's a combination of a sugar moiety to the nitrogen moiety of a protein molecule. So when the two of them join, you get this product, which is called an advanced glycation end products. The classic one that you all know about is hemoglobin A1C. So that's the hemoglobin combined with high sugars forms hemoglobin A1C, right? So it does make that A1C dysfunction. But of course, this reaction is occurring to almost all the proteins in our body. So the diabetic patient with high sugar has a lot of advanced glycation end products throughout his body, which is why his eyes go bad, his brain goes bad, his vasculature goes bad, he gets coronary arteries, he gets renal failure, he gets peripheral neuropathy, he gets sarcopenia, he gets liver disease, he gets all these things, right? Because all his molecules in his body are not able to work properly because of advanced glycation end products, right? So there's an endogenous advanced glycation end products which is constantly occurring in all of us. It's occurring in all of us. That's why you all need to do some intermittent fasting to get rid of them also, bring your sugar levels down. And that's a talk that I've given before, that you got to keep your sugars nice and low so you don't get a glycation end product. But did you know that what you do to your food creates advanced glycation end product? So now I take my potatoes. Oh yeah, whole food. Dr. J told me whole food. Better still, sweet potatoes. Chop, 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 chop. And I put it in my air fryer. Nice and crispy, brown, lovely. Oh, beautiful. Full of advanced glycation end products. Why? Because dry. What's the message I'm telling you today? Dry, high heat causes advanced glycation end products. So 90% of the glycation end products that you eat in the food, baked products, baking products, pastries, anything brown, anything that's caramelized, gets absorbed only by your gut bacteria and kills them. because it's sick. 10% gets absorbed into your bloodstream. Of that, 30% gets excreted in your kidneys. So you want to kill your kidneys? Go ahead. And of course, it destroys your metabolism in your body. And of course, the bacteria will have their casualty right there because they're getting all that advanced glycation end products. So if you grill something, advanced glycation end products. Heat it up really good in a pan, solid. Oh yeah, blackened. When I say blackened, yeah. So it's not only eating real food that looks like real food, it's also what you're doing to it. Because we're just damn too smart. We're too smart for our own good. So we have air fryers and we have woks and we barbecue and we think it's a great life. So you take your meat and you caramelize it and you barbecue it, and you take your chicken and you put it on there, and you take your fish and you're overcooking it, and if, for that matter, even if you take your bindi and you make it all black and over fry your bindis, okra and all that stuff, right? What are you doing? You're creating advanced glycation end for what? You want to eat all that charred stuff and let your body deal with it and let your bacteria deal with it? No. The studies clearly show that you should be cooking food in a stew in water. What's the maximum temperature of water? Anybody? When it boils? 200 and something, right? That's it. And it's moist. Not only is it that, but our Sastras also said that you have to put vinegar, you marinate the food in vinegar or lemon. And that causes less advanced glycation end products. So smart they were, that they knew that these reactions are inhibited. So you make a curry out of it, or you stew it in a pot. So you make chicken, you make it in a stew, or you take meat, or you even make vegetables and you stew it, or you take your food and you cook it in a slow pressure cooker, or one of those cookers, right? In moist heat. That's fine. You're also killing all the lectins. So you see, we never thought about this. That there's many ways to cook your food, and if you're destroying the food already, and then you're eating it, you're getting all this advanced glycation end product, and then you're wondering why you're sick. Oh, I'm vegetarian. Yeah, but all the vegetarians are so sick. They have lack of omega-3, too much omega-6, lack of vitamin B12, not enough fiber because they're eating all the processed foods as well, right? And too much omega-6 because they have vegetable oils in everything. They overcook the foods as well. So watch what you do to your food as well. Cook it in a pressure cooker, cook it with heat, moist heat, and you'll get less advanced glycation end products. Anything that comes ready-made in a packet, it's already got advanced glycation end products in it. That's why you can open the cookie and leave it on your table, and it'll still be like that 1 week later because it's got glycation end products in it. The reactions have already occurred. It's all done, finished. So anything that you put on your table and it still looks like that, a couple of days later, you don't want it. And by the way, naturally, when you leave it out, it's going to age as well. So it's the same thing that's going on. It's oxidizing. Basically, it's rusting, right? Don't eat vadelu gatelu. What does that mean? It means leftover foods. Because they will accumulate leftover foods. Because they will accumulate advanced glycation end products. No good for your bacteria, no good for you. Cook it, fresh, eat it, then give it to the ducks. That's what we do. We give it to the ducks and the turtles. We live on a lake, and that's what we do. And my wife, she got so mad at me because I said, I'm not going to eat vadelu gatelu food. That's exactly what I'm talking about. No, I don't eat any stale food. More than 24 hours, it's gone. Don't put it in the fridge. Don't reheat it for me. Don't reheat it. Don't put it in the microwave and reheat it. And by the way, you want to hear something interesting, which is what I learned. When you microwave food, you actually create less advanced glycation end products. Which is interesting because it's heating up the water inside it. So I looked into the mechanism of why is it that microwave food created less advanced glycation end products, because microwave only works with water in it. If there's water in the food, then it vibrates those particles and liberates the heat, and the radiant energy then heats up it. So it was very interesting. But so there's one good thing about microwave in general, but I warn you about something else about microwave. When you turn it on, walk at least 6-8 feet away. So you put it, you know how we go? We put it open, and we stand there waiting for it. Don't do that. You're just getting all that EMF on your body for what? Why are you doing that? But we all do it. We all do it. We all stand right. No, I put it in, I walk away from my microwave, 6, 8 feet away, because I don't want all that unnecessary stuff. Yeah, but?
You get the feeling of cooking.
So anyway, that's all very interesting stuff. But I hope you all enjoyed this, because what I want to just send off a message to you all is get back to thinking about your gut bacteria. Eat more fiber in your diet. No matter what you do, you're not getting enough fiber in your food. So supplement it with some fiber. I give my patients inulin plus FOS, which is a white powder. I give it to all my patients, cardiac patients. And you know what? Blood pressures are coming down. I kid you not, their sugars are coming down. They feel so much better. I fix their gut, and all of a sudden they come in here and say, "Doc, I feel so great." And I say, "I didn't fix your gut. I'm not a gastroenterologist." But what I think I did is I changed the metabolism. And I changed the metabolome, the products from the gut, and the bacteria. I've definitely changed it. And this is my own personal experience, and then I did all the research behind it, because I couldn't figure it out. So I did my own research on this and came up with this thing that, oh my God, the gut bacteria is huge. There are a lot of books on the microbiome. It's called the Microbiome. I encourage you all to read those books. There's lots of them. Read about it, and you'll realize it's very empowering. You'll feel fantastic, and your kids, your family, your parents will really appreciate it. So eat real food. Eat it in a more natural form. Don't overcook it. Don't kill it. And eat it while it's fresh. And eat infrequently, so you get your gut bacteria a chance to heal. So intermittent fasting. So good. And I figured, now, is it just the hormonal effect? That why are these patients feeling so good and coming back and feel amazing, and the weight loss is so good on intermittent fasting? And the more I read, I realized that some of that's because you're changing the bacterial flora. You change the bacterial flora in your gut when you do intermittent fasting, because the bile salts don't get secreted, first of all, because the gallbladder is not contracting, plus you're not putting sugars in there. So your entire bacterial flora in your gut changes when you are fasting. See how fasting, because what's the half-life of a bacterium? Half-life, where's my microbiologist? Huh? They're 24 to 48 hours, and then they die. So when you even fast for 24 hours, your microbiome is now completely different from, well, not completely, but markedly different than what your microbiome was before you did your fasting. Do you all understand what fasting is doing? It's changing you hormonally, it's changing your microbiome inside also. It's changing it completely. So that's why fasting is so helpful. It does more than just simply do the hormonal things which I talk about. It's changing your microbiome as well. Another thing I want to tell you about, your microbiome is so damn intelligent that there's a thing called metabolic jet lag, and there's jet lag itself. It has its own circadian cycle as well. It has its own cells. We live here, then we go down, then we lose. And what do? We eat at night. 11 o'clock at night, we come home. Okay, yesterday there was a big katha going on, right? So I came home and it was really late. I didn't eat over there. And then I come home and they want to eat at 11 o'clock at night. I say, ye bhi koi time hai? You can't eat at 11 o'clock at night. You cannot eat at 11 o'clock at night. Because your hormones are not ready, your bacteria are not ready either. You've got to go with the circadian pattern. Best time to eat, by the way, as far as your bacteria and your hormones are concerned, is lunchtime. That's the best time to eat. That's the best time. And then in the evening, just have a small snack. And then try to have at least minimum, for healthy people, at least 12 hours of fasting every day. 12 hours where you have no calories in whatsoever, only water, right? Water and black tea, black coffee, and don't break your fast. And those who have a problem, then you go to 8 hours, right? 8-hour window for eating. And if you have a real problem, 6 hours. And if you have a real problem, come see me. I'll make you fast for 3 days. Yeah. So I got numbered about 4 or 5 patients right now. They're doing a 3-day water fast. Nothing but water for 3 days. Completely change their bacteria, completely change their hormones. They're going to come back feeling absolutely amazing, when it's all done. So the power of fasting is really there. So think about when you're eating, what you're eating, how you're eating is also important. Sit down and eat. Don't stand and run around and drive, Coke in one hand, a burger on this hand. And oh, by the way, today on a burger, I got to tell you about the burger story. I told this guy, he almost fainted. So I said, you're eating burgers. He said, yeah, I eat burgers, but I go to good places. I said, did you know that the meat that's in your burger came from about 100 different cows? Because they take 100 cows, they shove them into the machine and mince their meats together. I said, one of those cows must have been sick. So if I gave you meat from 100 different cows, would you eat it? No. And it just got his brain spinning. I mean, by the time he left, that guy was like spinning in his... But I think that we got to think about what we're eating, how we're eating. And I think it's very important. We take it for granted. But let food be thy medicine. Hippocrates said that. And let's take it seriously. We all know it. It's just that we don't take it seriously. Take it seriously. Let food be thy medicine. Thank you all very much. Thanks. God. Yeah, so soluble fibers are very easily available to your microbacteria. We call that MACs, microbacteria available carbs. They get very easily digested. The non-soluble ones, they get partially digested, and that's why they come out in your stools as well and create a lot of bulk, more bulk, because some of it is bacteria, but some of it also is fiber. That's what a lady came to me just last week. She said that she was seeing some food also coming out in her toilet. Well, she's not having undigested particles. She doesn't have pancreatic insufficiency. She's not having steatorrhea. It's just fiber. She's getting a lot of fiber coming out of her. So non-soluble fiber, not all of it gets digested, only some of it. So the good question is that the bacteria that you have, if you have certain bacterial strains that are extremely efficient in digesting every last bit of fiber, you're going to suffer from obesity as well, because it will contribute another 15 to 20% of the calories that you absorb. So everyone's microbiome. So I give the same insoluble fiber to you and to you, your bacteria will determine whether you're going to become obese or not. You see what I'm saying? Same calories, same everything, but your bacteria will determine how much of those insoluble fibers that they're going to actually digest, and their contribution to your caloric intake is about 20%. So that's very important. So the insoluble fibers are found in anything, is cellulose. Cellulose, which is the structural material of plants. So any plant that you eat, any vegetable that you eat is going to have a combination of soluble and insoluble fiber. Yeah. So the soluble fibers are found in garlic, onions, artichokes, leeks. They have a lot of soluble fiber in it. All the rest have plant stalks and leaves and everything. They'll have a lot of insoluble fiber and some soluble fiber. They'll have mixtures. So both are good. That's a great question, and I get asked that all the time. If you're going to eat bread, which bread should you consume, okay? Number one, the best bread, if you're going to consume bread, is sourdough bread. So now, again, you could ask me, why sourdough? It's got no fiber, it's not thick, you don't have to break it, it's not heavy, right? Why sourdough? Because it's fermented. So anything fermented, the bacteria has already done a lot of the yeast has also done a lot of the changes for you. So eating sourdough bread causes a less increase in your insulin and your incretin effect. So it's much better for you. And then that's number one. Then number two would be millet bread. There's one thing, don't eat wheat. Guys, you're not supposed to eat wheat. The British introduced wheat to India because of their troops. They didn't introduce it for you. And India is such fertile soil that anything you put there grows. The British loved it, okay? You're not supposed to eat wheat. You're supposed to be eating millet and jowar. Jowar is sorghum. So learn how to use jowar and sorghum. It's in your system. It's in your ancestry. It's in your system. So avoid bread. So right, number two would be the millet bread. Number three would be rye bread. So you can have that. And the whole wheat stuff is nonsense, because the US government allows you to call it whole wheat even though 10% is whole wheat and the rest is pure white. They'll say it's whole wheat.
What do you think Spelt.
Spelt?
Yeah.
Spelt is a little bit better because, when you spelt, you get more nutrition coming out into the tissues because it's spelt, it's grown. So it's better for you. I prefer not to unless you really have to. So whenever possible, try to eat as little bread as possible, as little roti as possible. I was hoping you'd ask me that question because I've talked about eating fermented foods and why don't I just pop a pill, right? Billions and billions and billions, right? You see those bottles? Yeah. Billions and billions and billions. Well, first of all, there's no regulation on that. So you don't know how many billions are in there and how many of them are alive. Secondly, we're going to go through your intestines. It first has to go through the acidity, pH of 2.3. You don't know how much of those are going to survive. Whereas food-related probiotics, they actually get through, like the kefir, it actually passes through your intestines, and a lot of it actually ends up in your colon where it needs to go. So it's how they're bound and how they... So I don't prescribe probiotic pills to people. I really don't. I just tell them, look, get it naturally, get it through real food, because the binding to natural products where bacteria are supposed to bind. Bacteria are not supposed to bind to a plastic capsule. And the capsule is going to get busted. And that's the other thing I want to tell you all. I know PPIs are really good, okay, especially if you're getting a lot of heartburn and symptoms and everything else. But you got to talk to your doctor that, okay, I'm going to take this PPI. I'm going to take it because I'm getting a lot of heartburn right now. How long are you going to take it for? This baby's coming in 6 years. Are you still getting heartburn? No. Don't keep taking it unless you really have to. Talk to your gastroenterologist, talk to your family doctor, because you need acidity in your stomach. You need it because you want to. There's a reason why we have acid in our stomach, right? And I think that the healthiest people are those who don't take the PPIs unless they really have to, because it does a job of killing the bad bacteria and the bad bugs. Because certain bugs are pH sensitive, certain bugs are not. So the ones that are sensitive will be killed off. The ones that are not, they will actually pass through and keep going down. So there's a reason for all this. So that we know that all bugs have different pH sensitivities as well. And by the way, that applies to your mouth as well. So if you look at your tongue, there's 9 different geographical areas where different species grow. So, ever since I've been taking kefir, I'll just share a personal secret with you. Ever since I've been taking kefir, which is about 15, 16 years now, I've been consistently taking it, I've not had a single dental carie. None. It's got nothing to do with sugar. It's to do with my bacteria in my mouth. My bacterial flora is a very happy, good, healthy flora in my mouth. So you've got to have the right bioflora in your mouth as well, so you get good teeth. So if you're having gum disease and you're having issues with your teeth and recurrent fillings, think it could be the bacteria. You have the bad bacteria like strep mucus, for example, lots of that. You're going to get a lot of dental caries. Go to YouTube. You're going to go to YouTube. It's so easy. They have lots and lots of YouTubes on how to make sauerkraut and how to make. And it's amazing. Look. I want to tell you a little secret, okay? Every vegetable, every living entity has its accompanying natural microbiome. So when you take the cabbage and cut it up and you put it in the brine, you think it'll kill them all. No, those species survive. Especially the lactobacillus species, and then they grow in the sauerkraut, right? That's how you get fermentation. So now, when you go buy blueberries, now watch what I'm going to say. The blueberry comes with a little white coating on it, and you think, it's all pesticides. It's not. There's a little bacteria also growing on everything. So you wash it to get rid of the chemicals that may be on it, but then eat it as is. If a fruit is clean, eat it. Don't overdo it and get rid of all the bacteria, because they all come with the bacterial flora on them. All foods have a bacterial flora that accompanies them. Nature packages it that way. It's absolutely amazing how it's all in that. And one last thing I'm going to leave you with, just to show you how important bacteria are. Your plants and the farms, how do they all grow healthy? You think that your plants are making all these phytonutrients? No, it's the roots that are making it. How? From what? It's the bacteria in the roots, the microbiome that's in the soil. So a good soil is not just potassium, nitrogen, and phosphate. A good soil is one that has those as the building blocks, but they have a lot of bacteria inside. You see what I'm saying? And guess what we're doing to the microbiome of the soil? We're killing it. We're killing it because of our farming techniques that we are using. So these bacteria come to the roots and they get polysaccharides that are made by the leaf, gets traveled down to the roots and it's secreted by the roots. That's why the roots are a little sticky. That's polysaccharides. It's a sugar. And then the bacteria eat those and in turn, they release phytonutrients. These phytonutrients then get absorbed by the root, goes up into the leaf, and then you will eat it. So even that is coming from the bacteria. Just think about this. It's fascinating. We just don't think about it and we don't teach our children that. To look at your soil. The soil is not just sand. It's a living thing. It's got bacteria in it. It's a living thing. Don't just put nitrogen, phosphate and expect it all to be okay. It's living. Soil is living. Yeah, so it contains certain bacterial strains. Activa, all of them do. Some have a greater variety, but really kefir has the greatest variety. So I don't mind. And best, make it yourself at home. Just go buy the grains and then put the grains, they come in little grains, and you put the grains in and then you add your whole milk to it. I like whole milk thing because I think whole milk, why? Why not skim milk? Huh? Because I don't believe in skim milk. Why? Okay, so I'm going to ask you a question. Let's see how many physicists there are here. You have 10 cc's of skim milk and you have 10 cc's of whole milk. Which one has more sugar in it?
Same. Skim milk. Same.
You see, everyone says it's the same. It's not. Skim milk has more because out of the whole milk, some of that's all fat that takes up the volume. This is all pure skim milk. So it has actually more sugar in it. And then, of course, kids don't want to drink skim milk, do they? No, they don't. So what do? We add chocolate to it. And then you wonder why your kids are sick, right? Anyway, that's a different story. But yeah, so make your own kefir. If not, buy the kefir brand, and it's fine. It's lactose free as well because it's fermented. So even those with lactose problems can consume it. Yeah. For us, what we need, obviously we need protein, right? Because especially the essential amino acids, we need those, okay? Number two, so essential amino acids, now watch what I'm going to say. Essential amino acids and essential oils. That's it. Are they essential carbs? There's no such thing as an essential carb. So right, so your question is very pertinent. You need essential oils. And you must get essential oils, so you make sure that you're getting omega-3 through eating the right types of oils and sardines and all those kinds of nice things that have a lot of omega-3. Eat that, and you eat proteins. And if you're over 60, you need a higher amount of protein. All people over 60 must consume more protein in their diet because you really don't assimilate that much nitrogen. So that's all you need. The carbs will come automatically. There's always going to be carbs that are going to accompany it. Don't worry about the carbs. And don't count calories. Don't count calories. Just sit down and have a nice meal, but look at the food, look at the color, look at the consistency, see how it was cooked and and eat it. That's it. Simple. All this. I had a dietitian, she was telling you on count these calories, do this, do that, do that. I had to fire her. I said, you're driving everyone nuts. You're driving everybody crazy.
So uninstall that app, right?
Yeah. If you liked this video, here's one that I would recommend. And if you want to see my latest video, please click here.